What's up, BookTube? Welcome back. My name is Laura if you're new here, and today I'm talking about all of the books that I read in July. This may not be the best spot to film because the sun's creeping in real quick, but this will be a very short video anyways, as I only read 4 books in the month of July. Yeah, so we're still slumping, partially slumping. Like, I was getting more into the mood to read, but I have just been like super busy lately. Like, I've been hanging out with friends a lot and going to the beach and like doing a whole bunch of things. Haven't had time to read, but I am also still slumping like hardcore. So, but you know, 4 books is better than none, so I will take it. So for the month of July, I read a grand total of 762 pages. And again, read 4 books and DNF'd 0. So love that for me. So the first book that I read was Love Flush by Evie Mitchell. This is the second book in the All Access series. This one is a series of contemporary romance novels that all center on disability and kink. So in this book, our main character is a woman who has Crohn's disease, which inspired her to create her own business for toilet paper. And then our other main character is the owner of the town's paper mill. But these two actually dated in high school and it ended in disaster. But of course, it's a romance, so you know where things are going to go. This is a second chance romance and it was adorable. It was so much fun. It wasn't nearly as good as book 1, but I did still quite enjoy it. I love all of the side characters and like all the friendships in here. The friendships between the main group is like a really important part of the series, and I love that about it. The kink element wasn't as good in this one. I found like it felt kind of weird. I liked the first one so much because of all the like negotiations and like all the conversations about kink and all the consent and like everything was so well done. Whereas in this book, it was weird because like the two characters, they used to date, so like they had previously given consent for all of these like kinky things that they were doing, and so like they didn't really talk about it. They just like started doing it, so I didn't like that part of it as much, but it was still good. It was well written and everything. It just didn't have the same effect as the first book for me. I love the first book so much because of how good of a portrayal it was of actual real life kink. It was just like fantastically done, where in like book 2 just didn't quite hit the mark for me, but it was still pretty good and I gave it 3 stars. And then after that, I reread A Song for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. This is the first book in the Monk and Robot series, and this was my favorite book of last year. The sequel came out in mid-July, and I wanted to reread this book before getting to that one. So I did that, and I'm still reading book 2 right now, actually. I was trying to finish it for July, but I just didn't have time to, so I'm still reading that one. But yeah, so my reread, I am just like so in love with this book and this entire series. I actually went and annotated it this time. I don't know if you'll be able to see that with the sunshine right now, because it's so bright. I doubt you can see any of that. What if we go back here? Maybe you can see it. I don't know. Either way, I tabbed it. My tabbing system was just like anytime that this book made me feel emotions, I would put a tab in it, and there's a lot of them in there. I cried several times throughout this book. It just means the world to me, and like the main character I relate to on such a like soul deep level that I don't know how to explain properly. But anyway, synopsis. This one is a soft, cozy sci-fi. It takes place in a world where robots gained sentience and they didn't want to serve humans anymore, so they asked to kind of go off on their own, and the humans were like, yep, go for it, sounds good, and gave the robots half of the planet to go and live off in the wilderness with the promise that they would not bother them at all, but the robots are always welcome to come back to the human side of the world and just check in whenever they feel like it. So that's the world. And then our main character in this one is a traveling tea monk who is just feeling like lost and restless. They just like can't find their purpose in life, and so they decide to go on a pilgrimage to the ruins of a tea heritage out in the robot wilderness. So off they go, and they end up meeting a robot, and it's the first robot-human interaction in hundreds of years, and the two of them go off on this journey together and become friends and talk about the meaning of life and purpose and all of these really beautiful things that just like hits me so hard right in the heart. And it's just like, this book is everything that I need. Both times that I've read it have been during periods where like I just really needed this book and I just needed to hear the things that were said in it. It's weird because like this book is so tiny, but it packs such a punch for me and just has all the emotions all the time, and I adore it. So obviously it's a 5-star, and I love this book so much. It's definitely one of my favorite books of all time, and yeah, I just really adored this book, and I'm so happy that I finally read it again. And yeah, it's good. It's so good. After that, I read Blood of the Orc Prince by Lionel Hart. This is the second book in the Orc Prince trilogy. This one is a fantasy romance that I found on Kindle Unlimited, and it is a arranged marriage between a elf prince and an orc prince. So in the first book, their first time meeting is at their wedding, and they're getting married to signify an alliance between the elves and the orcs, who have been at war for a very long time. This is a huge deal. And the two are very nervous at first, but as they get to know each other, they end up falling madly in love with each other. And I actually quite enjoyed the first book. It wasn't like great in terms of like the writing and like that kind of thing. It was very predictable and like very simple, but it was really cute, just like a really fun romance. So I did actually enjoy it. Book 2, however, was not the biggest fan of. It got really boring. In book 2, the two of them travel to somewhere very far away. I can't really say where they're going because it would spoil the ending of book 1, but they go somewhere, and the one character has to go through this like really extensive training thing, and the other one is just like bored and hanging around all the time. They went to this like really cute seaside town, and that part was great. I loved the setting and the atmosphere, but the romance was kind of dull and the plot was pretty boring. And just overall, it wasn't a great book, especially after book 1, which was just so cute. And yeah, so sadly, not my favorite one, but I will still carry on with the series. But this one sadly got a 2-star from me. And then the last book that I read in July was The Plastic Magician by Charlie N. Holmberg. I am finally at long last finished this series. So this is the kind of the 4th book, but it's really a spin-off of the Paper Magician series, which I read I think 2 years ago now, and like I didn't love it, but like because they were so short, I just kept reading them for some reason. But by the time that I got to the 3rd book, I like hated the series. But then I finished it. It was like, hey, cool, great. I'm like done with this series. I can check it off as a finished series on my list. And then realized that there's actually a 4th spin-off book, and I was like, fuck me. Like I still have to read one more book in this series. Like, come on. And then I put it off for like 2 years. But I finally read it and actually pretty well enjoyed it. This book is definitely better than the first trilogy is. The main character was kind of annoying, but in like an endearing way somehow. But anyways, okay, synopsis. I keep getting sidetracked. So this series takes place in an ahistorical fantasy version of London where everyone knows that magic is real and you can choose to be a magician if you want to. And there's different kinds of magicians. So like each magic is like a different kind of material. You can be a paper magician, you can do plastic, you can do rubber, fire, metal, like whatever you want to, but you just choose one. And in this book, our main character is training to be a plastic magician, which is a brand new material that was just discovered. So there's a lot to be discovered and invented and everything. And she is a genius. Like she's so smart and really awkward and like quirky and hilarious. And she was kind of fun to read actually. And she's going to study underneath the best plastic magician that's come about so far. And once a year, there's this like gigantic magic expo kind of thing where like the best magicians go and show off their newest inventions, and like you can get really famous from it, and she wants to be part of this. And she comes up with a plastic invention that could like change the medical field forever. This book is her and her teacher trying to figure out how to make this in time for the expo, but there's also somebody trying to steal it from them. And while all that's happening, she's also falling in love with somebody else too. So this book was actually really cute. I quite enjoyed it. I didn't think I was going to because I really didn't like the first trilogy like at all. And this wasn't great still. Like it was really cheesy and like the writing wasn't amazing. But it was fun and just enjoyable. So, you know, overall it wasn't a bad book. I ended up giving it 3 stars, I think. Which I think the first trilogy was like 2 stars each. So definitely an improvement. Not much of one, but still an improvement. And it at least didn't piss me off. So that was really good. Because the first trilogy, like it was a student-teacher romance, and that really, I didn't like that at all. So this one was not that, and it was much better. So yeah, overall, I'm glad that I finally read it. But I'm mostly glad to just be done with that series now, and I can actually check it off on my list as being finished. So yay. But those are all the books that I read in the month of July. I'm really hoping this slump is going to end soon, but it doesn't look like it. So far, we're like almost midway through August right now, which, yeah, sorry for the super late everything and just like not posting recently. I literally have not had the time. But, you know, I'm not complaining because like I've been hanging out with friends and like there's some really good things happening in my life, which I'm sure I'll share at some point. But you know, I've just been busy with all the good life stuff. So, but at some point I will try and figure out a schedule again for posting on YouTube more often and try and find the time to actually make content more frequently. But I do have a whole bunch of like vlog projects that are on the go, so you guys should be seeing more of those coming out pretty soon, I hope. But anyways, I'm rambling now, so there's the July wrap up. I will cut that off there. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you are in the world, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye.